Did you
Okay.
see Chris Rock's bit? He started by saying like, this is a real person with kids and a family that's been killed in the street. That's sad, and went on for a good bit, and then just said, but sometimes drug dealers get shot.
Hey, welcome to Beer Christianity. My name is John T.
My name is Laura.
And I am Malky.
Hey guys, it's been a hot minute.
And this podcast is brought to you by
Shibboleth, New Christian Media. Wait, let's all say it together.
Okay.
Shibboleth.
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 Shibboleth. Like the guy who, as if the guy.
Yeah. Have you ever had a dream?
Should the magazine? Come on. Anyway.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah. So, this podcast brought to you by Shibboleth New Christian Media. Why the hell not? And three things we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about that thing that we keep on mentioning, Shibboleth New Christian Media. We're also going to be talking about Christmas, and we're going to be talking about a cartoon character called Luigi, who is he's a character in a game, and that's all anyone needs to know about him. But we're going to start off by saying, what are we drinking? I think that's important. You should probably know we're recording this in the afternoon/evening.
It is 3 p.m. 3:02.
It's 5:02 where I am, so,
John T's in another land.
So what are we drinking?
I'm drinking Earl Grey tea out of a Christmas mug.
I am drinking coffee with Amarula liqueur in it out of what kind of mug would you call this?
I mean, I believe earlier I referred to it as a titty teacup.
A titty teacup.
So...
That's what it is. It's a titty teacup.
Yep.
Marky, what are you drinking?
Oh wow, I've just realized what I'm drinking out of. Right, I'm drinking water, tap water. Right, which is pretty dull, but I'm drinking it out of a reusable plastic cup that I got from Greenbelt Festival.
Ew.
And it was sitting on a Beer Christianity
Oh,
Hey, nice.
beer mat,
Love that.
which
Beer
are available from our website, along with all other merch and stuff, which would be a great Christmas gift, but probably not on the 21st of December.
Probably not for 2024.
Yeah. 2025, get it in your basket.
Yeah,
They're not going to sell out. They're not in danger of selling out at all. So just get them in your basket now.
Yeah, fine. Have we ever actually promoted that we have merch on the show?
I don't think so.
We are
have
terrible.
stickers.
We are terrible at commerce. We have stickers. You should buy a Beer Christianity sticker or a hoodie. No, wait, Stuart has got a hoodie.
I didn't even know what merch we had until like a couple of months ago. I was just like browsing our website and I was like, we have some really good stuff. Like I should get some of this stuff.
Yeah, man,
So
it's really cool.
I didn't.
I wear my t-shirt all the time.
It's bad. I do too.
Yeah, I get a lot of funny reactions from white South Africans for wearing a t-shirt that is pro BLM and LGBTQ plus and anti-capitalist. So there you go.
And you could too.
You could also
Christianity.co.uk.
alienate your white South African friends. Alienate your Trump voting friends. Yeah. But we're going to tell you a little bit more about Shibboleth a little bit later because we've been doing a whole bunch of stuff since last you heard from us, and momentous things have happened. But before we get to that, we should probably talk about the news, and particularly the news that has happened in between this episode and our previous one, where we talked about, we didn't talk, we were talking about some kind of biblical violence and that sort of thing. But we are now talking about Luigi Mangione, the Adjuster, is what he was called. If you subscribe to the Beer Christianity newsletter, you would have read some of my takes on that. But who wants to describe who Luigi Mangione is for a listener who does not know or has not been keeping up with, is not on that side of TikTok, maybe? Do you want to go for it, Mox?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm happy to go for it. I'm going to go for it, Jonty. Just buckle up, because I'm ready to go for it.
Laura.
So there was this guy who was CEO of you want to say United Healthcare,
Yeah.
a big health insurance company in the US, and was shot dead in the street um, by someone. And over the how long was it between the shooting and the
It's like a
arrest?
week, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
over that period, the internet went mental. Um, with him, I was going to say being variously demonized and praised as a hero, but all I saw was him being praised as a hero, really. The
Yeah,
shooting,
I
that is.
saw no demonization. That may just say that the algorithms are working and giving us what they
Yeah.
think we want. Not necessarily, by the way, to anybody listening to this from, say, a branch of government or law enforcement, not what we want, but what the algorithms think we want. So, if anything, it is the mega corporations behind the algorithms who are to blame rather than us. Sorry, continue, Melky. We're going to be doing that a lot during this segment, by the way.
There was a small still of him captured, and he was wearing a mask, and you could just see his eyes. And a lot of people pointed out how handsome he was.
Even from that, you could tell how handsome he was.
Yeah.
And he was eventually tracked down and grassed up by someone in a McDonald's. Um,
That's like McDonald's.
and so I heard there was a manifesto. I heard there was a fake manifesto. You guys will have more information about that. But the other thing that was interesting was bullet cases on the ground, which were inscribed with defend, deny, depose. Is that right, guys?
Yeah.
What do those things mean?
I believe
Apart
those are
from
the three Ds of insurance, something like that. It's
Yeah.
what people in insurance are told is how they should be dealing with claims. Um, I believe. I may be
Yeah.
incorrect.
There's other ones that are more popular, but deny is always the first one. Defend your denial. So if somebody has been paying for insurance and then they try to claim, you deny them. They will appeal it. You defend against them, and if necessary, you depose them in a kind of court fashion. There is another D, but I can't remember what it is.
don't know. Maybe it's don't know.
Could be, don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be,
But
don't
anyway,
know. Yeah.
deny, defend, depose was on a whole bunch of social media. A lot of people were saying it. There's a great use on a lot of TikToks of the guitar line from Brain Stew by Green Day. From what was the album after Dookie? I can't remember, but Brain Stew, that Dana, Dana. And it has deny, defend, depose, and yeah, it's just very interesting. The response. What did you guys see in your feeds about this? What were the hot takes from your side of the internet, Laura?
I saw a lot of people digging into, well, is this, are we talking post arrest or pre arrest? Because
I don't think we're being that specific.
fair enough. I saw a lot of people digging into Luigi's digital footprint, which, as an aside of, the crimes, I think is a bizarre thing that we have to deal with in our new kind of internet world of like, yeah, if you are a criminal and you kind of go viral, your Goodreads account is going to be accessible. So everyone will know that you gave the Lorax 5 stars, which
Which is so the adjuster, right? They called him the adjuster because he was
the adjuster,
adjusting
yeah.
an insurance executive. And I think in case anybody has missed this whole thing, and something we haven't actually mentioned is the reason why people were treating him like a hero is not because they like feral violence, but because they feel that his target was a justified killing.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we could never say something like that because that would be illegal. But what we can say is that a lot of people on the internet, a huge number, so many that they had to close down comments and even reacts to the official posting from United Health about Brian Thompson's death, because literally millions of people were laugh reacting and leaving comments about, well, maybe the bullets were a pre-existing condition, or maybe Thompson was just out of network and therefore out of luck, and those sorts of things, reflecting a huge amount of hatred for the for-profit healthcare system in America, and particularly for the insurance branch of which I think is very understandable. Yeah, there was a lot of that, and the digging in as well to the digital footprint, which I would. This is why I can never commit a crime like this. It's because
Yeah.
I feel like my internet history is just too embarrassing. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't need anyone to discover my early teens Tumblr account. I feel like that's going to be bad for all of us. So,
Oh my word! I
um,
want to do an entire episode on your early teens Tumblr account.
oh no, it's it's like it's just embarrassing. Like it's not even like it's not even like bad. It's just weird. Just like no one needs to know how into Supernatural I was. No, it's okay. We can leave that we can leave that behind us. But
Nice.
anyway, we weren't talking about me. We were talking about the
That's fine.
adjuster.
We can talk about you
Oh, we
every now
can.
and then, just to
Yeah, thanks.
keep
I
your
appreciate it.
interest.
Thanks. Yeah, just make me feel involved. Yeah, I think something else. I think that kind of the main thing that's come out of it is like the understanding. Well, I don't think it was ever a misunderstanding, but it has again brought to light how fucked up the American healthcare insurance system it really is, and just like you get a lot of people just sharing this, like saying, like, yes, of course, like, we should not be killing people in cold blood. But this has been my experience with United Healthcare, and like, just some of the, you just can't imagine how, I mean, I'm sure people are aware of it because people, it's been everywhere, but just like the people who have charged for unbelievably unthinkable amounts for such harrowing, tragic situations in their lives. And I think as somebody who was brought up with the NHS, you just cannot fathom having to pay tens of thousands because you've lost a child or lost a relative or you've been diagnosed with an incurable disease and you're then slapped with a bill that is unpayable by a company that will do everything it can to force you to pay it without any morality or mercy. I think it, yeah, like, and I think that is the thing that is taking over the internet in quite a significant way because, like, if anyone hasn't said it yet, that's fucked, guys. That
And I think
is
that's the
fucked.
argument, right? Is, you know what? Fine, we won't condone the murder, but you cannot expect us to express grief over somebody whose policies killed countless people, according to Americans who speak about their healthcare. I mean, under Brian Thompson, United's denial of claims went up by some ridiculous thing like 30% or something. It was large. And a denial of
And
claims means they won't pay for your care. So you have a choice of going bankrupt, having financial ruin by paying it yourself and racking up those debts, if you even have the credit to rack up those debts, or die. And this is in
mhm.
the most powerful country in the world, one of the richest countries in the world, if not the richest country in the world. Hard to tell
and
with their amount of debt, but
and wasn't there that thing with like they changed their system to be based on an AI algorithm to decide whether or not it would accept your claim or not, and it had a 90% error rate. A 90% error rate, which is crazy.
I
Yeah.
mean, being based in the UK, then my interactions with insurance companies have not been fun. But it's been to do with, house belongings, car, and that's enough of a ball ache and knowing that they're constantly trying to screw you out or, oh, you're not covered with this. Pet insurance is the closest thing that I've had to deal with in terms of you've got a living being that you care about and you're having to make those decisions. Like years ago, we had a dog, and you take the admin shit that you have to deal with. All right, yeah, we'll get insurance, whatever, blah blah blah. And then she was injured, and we took her in, and immediately there was a £200 fee on top of things because, well, you're not covered for emergency out of hours. So if your dog is injured between 9 and 5 during business hours, then your insurance kicks in.
insurance
But
is a
not,
is a
yeah.
fundamentally immoral business. It's fundamentally immoral. I don't think there are any good insurers. It's your whole business model is doing your best not to pay out the stuff that everyone is giving you money so that you'll pay out. That's the whole thing. It's awful. And I have not heard many people speak positively about it. But as you say, like the healthcare insurance industry is just insane in the US. They have the most expensive healthcare in the world, which of course they do. That's what capitalism does to any system you introduce it to. So,
The other thing that I saw online was the kind of the hypocrisy drawn out by various government officials. There was one guy in particular, I forget who it was, but he was at a podium denouncing the violence. We must never, violence is never the answer. And then cut to him, whenever it was, a few months ago, signing bombs that were going to be dropped in the Middle East.
yeah,
So there's just a complete dissonance and disconnect between state-sponsored violence and corporate violence versus, citizens engaging in violence.
yeah.
And
And
I haven't looked into it like fully since I saw it, but I saw that Luigi has been charged with terrorism,
that's
which
what they're thinking. And some of the reasoning behind that is potentially that you can be tried without a jury for terrorism offenses.
interesting.
Because I think the
Wow.
concern is that it would be very hard to find a jury in America who would be sympathetic to Brian Thompson. And yeah, that is part of it. The argument that he's a terrorist, I mean, I can kind of see it. I guess again, this is assuming he's guilty, but calling the adjuster a terrorist is he trying to change a system by using violence? Yes, but he's not using
Yeah.
violence against the general public, and that is the
No, yeah.
definition of terrorism. That's the definition of terrorism that the US military uses. It's the definition of terrorism. I mean, every time you hear a NATO power like Britain or the US saying they're going to do this because they need to effect regime change or they want the people there to rise up against their leader, that's terrorism. You're using violence in order to get to achieve a political aim. And particularly by terrorizing people, we're using violence and invoking fear. So yeah, except this isn't against the people, as somebody said.
Yeah.
He shot a dude dead in cold blood. I live in New York. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid at all because
Yeah.
I haven't dedicated my life to a business model that allows people to die needlessly or causes untold suffering. So I don't think anybody is going to copycat this and come after me. And that was some of the other discourse was the talk about establishing a hotline for CEOs who felt threatened. And all the people who've had family members murdered and the police have gone, sorry, sucks for you,
Yeah.
unsolved, but then pulled out all the stops to find the killer of a CEO. I think it tells you
Yeah.
quite a lot about what you need to know about who the police are there to serve. They're not there to keep human beings safe. They're here to protect capital, and I think that's much of the legal system as well. Yeah, but as you say, just the absolute hypocrisy of going, violence is never the answer. Okay, but you've taken away all peaceful means. You've ignored it again. These companies have bought the American politicians on both the left and the right, what we laughingly call the left and the right of the political spectrum there. Their campaign donations are enormous. How else are people supposed to affect change? Voting doesn't help. They're browbeaten into voting for a two-party system. You can understand frustration boiling over into that. And when they say, well, this is, I saw some, there's been a lot of very funny stuff. A lot of songs have come out that have been very amusing and some of them quite scary. And there was, hey there, Luigi. Da, 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 da. And it was all just about this guy who has a crush on Luigi because of how hot he is and and what he's done. And I just saw some simpering centrist ball bag doing a similar one, but going like, there's got to be a better way than using violence. And, they replaced Brian Thompson immediately. So that means that, what you did was pointless because your life is over and they're still continuing. And I'm like, So just no real sense of
No.
sacrifice for a cause. And that's the other
Yeah.
thing is the cause. He turned out not to be a lefty. He was
Yeah.
a right-leaning libertarian. This is according to all that sleuthing that Laura was telling me about people doing.
Yeah.
And and what was amazing from it was just the unifying force he had for a bit until the right realized, oh shit, well, now we're not serving the oligarchs anymore and we need to drive a wedge between people. But I think ordinary people, regardless of their politics, have just been like, yeah, we need more of that. And not just because of a sense of kind of outraged anger
Mm.
at the horrors they're forced to endure, the fear they have to live in, the terror that they're living under of getting into a car accident, of needing to call an ambulance, of any of that kind of stuff, but actually because of what it already achieved. Because again, we're not supporting this. This is not a positive thing, and one should never kill anyone. Due process of law and all that. But the day that Thompson was murdered, what is the name of the other? It was a competitor health company whose name escapes
Mm.
me, who had announced that they were they were not going to pay for a full session of anesthetic for some operations. So you're no longer, you can be covered for some anesthetic for an operation, but if it's a long operation, no. With the idea that I guess you have your operation done while you're awake, or
Crazy.
more realistically, they
Just
won't do the
wild.
operation unless you can pay for the anesthetic.
Yeah.
Um, and and they reversed that after
Mm.
Thompson was murdered. They made the announcement very soon afterwards. That's not a coincidence. It's because there's always outcry when they do these kinds of things. But if it's just outcry, why would people only motivated by profit do anything in response to that outcry? I think I may have written, I meant to write about this in the newsletter, but I can't remember if I did. Um, the part of that enshittification of platforms where they start out good for a user and they're, doing a whole bunch of useful stuff, and then they slowly try to kind of just squeeze more profit out of it. So they lower the service level for the user. Then they lower the service level for businesses using the platform until the only people making any money out of it are the platform owners themselves. And I think what that gives you is that sense of if you've ever had something go wrong with software, or I don't know, some other thing that's owned by your phone or your broadband or your whatever, and you try to speak to a human being, and that's almost impossible. I had my bank cards cancelled unilaterally with no communication by my bank, who said, "Well, we can send them to your home address." I'm in another country, babe, and and there's nothing you can do. And and would the world be a worse place if there was some fear around fucking people around like that, about making their lives less good for the sake of profits? Would the world not be a better place if there was just a little bit of fear of consequence? You know? I don't know. Again, I would never advocate
No.
or encourage any of that kind of stuff. But
But it
this
but it
this
does it does show there's a this the democracy isn't working
yeah.
like
Mm.
as it should. We aren't able to respond um to have the will of the people
Mm,
enacted because the will of the people is fuck that system.
yeah.
Actually, the cogs and wheels turning will just we'll keep it going, and
Mm.
where
Yeah.
the power lies.
Yeah, which is why so many people hated Kamala Harris and hate the Democratic Party, and
Mm.
people on the left hate them. And then you have people in the center who are Democrats, or like the Starmer Laborite, who would say, "Well, why are you so angry with the Democrats? They're not as bad as Trump." Yeah, but they're the ones who are supposed to be representing this, and they're not.
Yeah.
you know, as Christians, like, and I mean, I find it weird to kind of separate it out and go, okay, but what's a Christian response? Because I am a Christian. This is
Mm.
my response. Um, but there is such a thing, I guess, as trying to be closer to what we think our faith should be. I mean, what are your thoughts on what this means? What should a Christian response be?
Well, I feel like a Christian should be orientated towards justice, and I feel like the fact that we're talking about um, defending the weak and the normal person, or the weak and the normal person should have as much um, sway as the rich and powerful. I feel like that's a Jesus thing. I feel like that's an upside down kingdom thing.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something a conclusion that we've reached by ourselves and
Yeah.
then crowbarred it back into Christianity.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because it's Christmas,
And
man, and like, the announcement
yeah.
of Jesus' birth, you got the Magnificat, which we can read to you from the back cover of a certain magazine a little bit later. But
Mm.
yeah, it's about sending the rich away empty and throwing down the powerful from their thrones. It's the book of Amos.
Mm.
It's Matthew 25. It's
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah. And I think the thing that it seems like so many people forget is that applies to systems. That is not a just a simply person to person interaction to believe those things and act in those ways. Like I think that has been the problem that has faced so many Christians is that people don't see beyond the scope of what's in front of them, and it is like it's the system that is the thing that is broken, and yeah, we don't condone violence and violent acts like this, obviously, as we've said, but we can condone the system because I think that is right to do, and a system that causes 68,000, I think was a number I saw somewhere, unnecessary deaths a year because because of profit. That is an immoral, evil system, and it
it's
is our
evil.
job as Christians to call that out because
Yeah.
that is evil.
And I do believe that there is something incredibly powerful in nonviolent resistance, but it has to be
Absolutely.
resistance.
Yeah.
And in the absence of effective nonviolent resistance, and that can be because in a country like America, Christianity has become so aligned with capitalism that to imagine the majority of Christians would, as their Christian witness, do something profoundly anti-capitalist, and do that kind of nonviolent resistance is almost unthinkable. Or it could be because of that. Was it Kwame Ture who said that nonviolent resistance can only be effective if the oppressor has a conscience? Um, and unfortunately, in corporatized capitalism, it's never just one individual. They can all say,
Mm.
like the guards at Auschwitz, say, I was just following orders. I was just doing my job. In a statutory sense, I was doing my job. Legally, I had to seek profit and not the good of the people. Because we've
Mm.
spoken a lot about CEOs, but CEOs aren't at the top of the food chain. Shareholders are,
Mm.
boards are, the owners and the owning class are. Now, the CEOs of these mega corporations are part of that class, so I don't think we need to say anything in their defense. But let's also remember that you don't want to always just go for the middleman if you're going for somebody. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
yeah, speaking out. I mean, obviously. Um, but yeah, I long to see the power, and I do believe there is some transcendent power in the witness of Jesus who doesn't fight back, in the witness of his disciples who, for
Mm.
generations, never fought back. They never took up arms against their oppressors, and I think there's something incredible in that.
Mm.
I'm not seeing it, and I'm not seeing it encouraged by churches. What I'm seeing encouraged by churches is collusion, apathy, indifference, and condemning anything that makes a fuss. And I think that is a core problem in churches, and the churches that are going, oh, we mustn't become irrelevant by watering down our witness. We water down your witness when you stop enacting that vision of bringing the kingdom on earth.
Mm.
When you start colluding with the forces of evil. But it would be wonderful to see it. But it's like that thing of, the ANC. Sure, I won't plant a bomb, but you think I'm going to condemn somebody who's tried all the peaceful means and they didn't work to liberate themselves from oppression? No, no, I can't. So yeah, I hope the ruling class is afraid. I hope they stay afraid for a good long while, and I hope it causes them to, if not repent, then at least reform. That'd be my
Yes.
my thought.
And the trial will be very interesting to see how that plays
Mm.
out and see what the public reaction is,
Mm,
you know.
absolutely. All right, well, let's move on to happier things. Um,
Mm.
what's happened recently that any of you can think of?
We've
Not a lot.
published a magazine.
Oh yeah, shit.
Hey!
What?
Who knew? Now, obviously, if you've been
Woohoo!
following our social channels, we haven't really spoken
You might
about this
not
much at
know.
all.
Genuinely, we
It's
should have been promoting it more.
it has been
We're recording. That's why we're
yeah.
doing this.
Yeah, and it has been quite all-consuming, I think, for us over the
Yes.
last month or so. But in case you don't know, we have launched a magazine. Now, if you're thinking, gosh, I'm listening to this podcast, I cannot imagine a magazine that had a coherent sentence in it. That would be an
Ha!
absolutely fair comment.
Very
However,
valid.
this is like, like if it should have gone the other way. We should have done the magazine, and it's like a very kind of like cool, serious, but very well put together, very well
Mm.
edited, professional, serious, respectable magazine. And then we could have the behind the scenes podcast
Yeah.
where we're all a little
Then
bit
we should have
chaotic
turned
and
on
you
the
see the
mics.
human face of us. So we've done it the other way around, and we've
Yeah.
decided to do this chaotic thing for a few years and then do something way more kind
Surprise you
of
all with how coherent we
focused.
can actually be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a magnificent magazine. I take it only one of us has a copy at the moment.
Yes, I am the blessed chosen one. FedEx
Oh,
has anointed me with a copy of Shibboleth magazine. It's on my floor, actually. Sorry, I'm desecrating it. It
how
should be on
dare
the
you?
top shelf. But yeah, it's looking banging. It looks very, very good. It looks
Uh,
great. And I wanna ask you guys about it because you guys are really the driving force behind this. This is a I mean, I'm just kind of a tag along at this point, but I feel like you guys have had this dream, I guess, for a long time. When did you guys first start talking about having a magazine and putting it out there? Because this isn't the spoiler. This isn't the first magazine that you two have published, is it?
no, I mean to be fair, we've actually worked on other magazines for our day job a lot together. But
Mm.
I think when we started doing that, we started realizing that there's a whole bunch of stuff we couldn't do in the magazines that we were putting out for our day job, or even in like my freelance capacity. And we were just like, man, wouldn't it be cool? And we started a thing called the Narnian Socialist Review. If anybody remembers that, we did a bunch of blog posts and one print issue, which which we loved. What define the Narnian Socialist Review, Melky?
It was like a newspaper style, like a satirical newspaper
Yeah,
kind of thing. Um, and we got it together and printed off a bunch of copies and handed them out free at Greenbelt
yeah,
in 2010 or something like that.
That's so
yeah,
cute.
Um,
yeah.
and a lady told me off.
Complaint. Yeah.
Did she actually just
Yeah,
actually
It
do
was
because
that?
quite sweary.
it was
And
quite sweary,
it
and
had
because
a
it's a
thing about
newspaper,
sex
it's not like
songs.
yeah, it's not hidden within the within the magazine. I think on the front page there was some swears.
Yeah,
I handed it to a child. I
yeah.
handed the paper to a child, but
Very
So
emotional, but
I was but a
it's out
child
there
at the
now.
time.
you
We
were
all made
you were
mistakes.
a mere babe in arms. So yeah, it makes sense. No, we've grown a lot since then, Laura. We've grown a
Yeah.
lot since the Onion
Yeah,
Socialist Review.
how is Shibboleth magazine different from the Narnian for big fans of the Narnian Socialist Review, because we know you're out there, what can those people expect to be different about Shibboleth magazine?
It's way more
And
focused.
I
It's
know
way
for a
more like
fact that
a.
at least one of our listeners has a copy of the Narnian Socialist Review.
I think it's more focused and more professional. I think some of the same spirit is there. Um, I think it's more deconstructed in terms of faith and more circumspect in terms of its expression of ideas, maybe. Would that be, I don't know. Melky, what do you think? How is it different?
Yeah, definitely. And like that was it was a fun thing
It was a
that
zine.
I think I was still an intern at the time. Let's put something out for fun. Whereas, yeah, whatever it is, 15 years later, with our genuine publishing experience, then it's like, okay, let's have a business model and let's create an actual business
Yeah,
and get an accountant and have
Does
a
that
plan
make
for
it
this.
less fun?
it did make it less fun.
It
Yeah.
did make a well, yeah, I mean, definitely, but also, but you were creating a real thing. You know, we have a proper functioning website. We've done all the grunt work of figuring out postage costs to various international locations,
Yeah.
and things like that. And yeah, and all that is the structure to make the magazine itself happen, which is a proper magazine, and we want people to love it. And I think we've both, I certainly as a mag designer, as a day job, um, love the platform. Love tangible magazines, and I'm a magazine nerd and a print nerd, and been to some magazine conferences run by Mag Culture, if anyone is aware, if anyone is in that
Very
town.
cool people.
But they kind of celebrate independent publishing, and in as much as it seems daft, a daft business strategy to launch a magazine, um, certainly big newsstand titles are suffering because people don't buy magazines and newspapers anymore like they used to. However, the indie market, there is a very, very decent market there to kind of do exactly what we're trying to do in terms of a niche title. And I think, we are a niche within a niche.
I mean, I was going to say there's niche and then there's niche
And there's
because,
us.
left-wing Christian print magazine it's a small world, hey. But wasn't there one that we were at the Mag Culture shop, and there's a magazine that is dedicated to like poetry and Scottish football. I feel like
Cute.
They might be mixing up two magazines, but yeah, sure.
no, it was something like that. It had both in it. It was like
Yeah.
a magazine of
found a new
literature
niche.
and football. It was
Yeah.
yeah.
There was Nutmeg, which is at Scottish Football Quarterly, which is lovely, obviously, and
Obviously.
beautifully designed. And that's part of it. It's creating something that's nice and tangible, that smells good, and it has landed later than we intended, but it is hitting people's doormats as we speak, which is a lovely time to take time at Christmas and chill out. Get off screens and read some stuff.
Yeah.
Sniff some pages.
Yeah. We even got a message from Derek, who is one of the lovely people at Greenbelt, who sent a message and just said some very kind things about it looks and feels beautiful and can't wait to dig into all the content, which is just like so encouraging. And we've been hearing that from a few people who've got their copies already. So if you have ordered, it's on its way. It's already started reaching people. But yeah, it's just cool.
Can we also do a big shout out to Greenbelt? Because you guys have, anyone from
Yeah.
Big Greenbelt who's listening to this, have been incredibly supportive of this like hilariously bizarre niche that weird Christian lefty content that we've carved out for ourselves. And it's genuinely because I think there's just a few people who have just completely like fully backed us and believed in us, and it is just so amazing to have that behind us and have people doing that for us. And it like we just honestly cannot thank you enough for doing that, because it is just like we are three like chaotic like weirdos who are just like muddling our way through.
Well, but I see. I don't actually even think that, because we are three chaotic weirdos.
I am a chaotic weirdo.
Admittedly. But we're also three chaotic weirdos who work professionally in communications and
well, yeah, that's also true.
and work on several print publications and online publications and stuff. And so I think that's the difference, really, is that I think the perception that you could have of the magazine, if you based it off this podcast, would be like, it's actually quite different from what you would expect.
That is true. Yeah.
It's a real magazine. It's also, we're not the only people writing it. It's not a zine.
Well,
Oh, yeah, to be
Jonty, I
clear.
wanted to ask, in contrast to Narnian Socialist Review, which I believe was exclusively written by Jonty Langley, what's the difference between that and Shibboleth?
I think it's kind of, I think it's so much better having other people write and do the work. No, just having because it ends
Also
up
not
being,
true. You've done a lot of the work.
I have done a lot of the work. Yeah, this has not been less work for me, but It's just really cool to see other people's takes on things and to learn things. Like we got a big feature on Dorothy Day, the founder of the Catholic Worker Movement. And I know some stuff about Dorothy Day, but not as much as Thomas from the London Catholic Worker, who wrote this article for us and who I think edits their newspaper. And it's a stunning article and it's just so interesting. And you've laid it out so beautifully, Malky. But just that kind of having people bring in thoughts that you hadn't had. Bella Cross, who has been on this podcast, they wrote a piece on the drag panic, and they just wrote a really thoughtful, really kind of intellectually dense, you can really get your teeth into it kind of argument about transphobia and the drag panic and the church's attitude to gender. You've got Jezza Bell, who, if you follow our socials, and we're on Blue Sky now. I was going to say Truth Social. We're not on Truth Social. We're on
Stop calling it Truth Social.
we're on Blue Sky and on Facebook and on Insta, so you can find us there, Shibboleth Mag. And you will have seen Jezza's thing. Jezza is a Christian drag artist who has written a devotional. And she's writing about that devotional in the magazine, which is something that I couldn't do. So, it's been cool to interview people and to write some of the articles, but it's been so great to get. There's a thing called the Ethic Calculator, where Drabs, our erstwhile co-host, I will remember you
in the arms of the angel.
He wrote a piece putting his full engineer chest into an article dealing with two ethical conundrums, one very funny, the other one not inherently funny, but he still made it funny, with a lot of maths, and that's just so cool to read and fun. And you get to meet Mark Woods, who used to be the editor of the Baptist Times, being his incredibly hilarious and grumpy self, saying things that you would just not find in another Christian magazine. I think that's the thing is everyone, understood the assignment, if that's not to 2023. Like they got it. They get the vision. They get what we're trying to do here. So you're finding things that you would not find in another Christian publication. If it's the tone or the content or the style. There's a fair amount of snarky bitch about it, and that is almost exclusively from me. But all the parts that aren't so snarky bitch are coming from some just lovely people. We've got Alex Baker, who did a beautiful kind of photo spread of Greenbelt. His photos of Greenbelt through the ages, I don't know, since he's been going, and his kind of thoughts as a photographer on that. It's just like some random stuff in there, as well as some very kind of focused, these are shibboleths that the church holds on to that it shouldn't hold on to, which is some of the stuff we're trying to kind of skewer as well. I don't know. I just think it's got a good vibe, man. And it's beautiful. Malky, you've done such a glorious job.
Yeah, you've done such a good job.
Thank you very much. So I love that it's a magazine and we have different issues, because it means we can have fun with it creatively. Because I'm immediately, as soon as that's gone to print, I'm like, right, must do better, must do different. I'm already bored with the design. Let's shake it up.
Love it.
But I think also interesting reference to Greenbelt there. I think what we're trying to do as well is create a space for people, open and inclusive, and welcoming, and also celebrating those diverse voices. And expert voices. I wanted to crowbar back in, Jonty, as well to your bit. We've got great columnists who are actual experts in mental health and sex and patriarchy. Yeah, that's three different people.
Yeah, we got Liz Coolidge.
That'd be a hell of a column.
Absolute baller.
That's a baller. We got Liz Coolidge Jenkins, who you may have heard on the podcast before, who wrote the book Nice Churchy Patriarchy, and she's doing a Smash the Patriarchy column, and the first kind of column that she's written for us is just fantastic. You got Corin Pilling from Sanctuary UK, a mental health charity. He's writing about the Bible and mental health and the ways in which it can be helpful but also unhelpful. And you've got Helena Ashcroft, who's a clinical sex therapist, who's writing sex advice columns and talking a little bit from an understanding of Christian culture as well as the kind of clinical approach to sex. And it's just cool, man. It's so cool. What are your favorite bits, though? Laura, what's your favorite bit?
I I mean, I was just going to say, I think, just catching up something Marky just said, I think one of the things that is also really cool about it is that it's not a place to defend the why these people or these takes should be included in the faith. We're not. I think that was a really cool thing about your editorial, John T. I think that's something that like is like a really important crux of the magazine is that we're not including these voices as a this is why X Y Z should be included in faith. It is this person is someone of faith or not even of faith or maybe of a different faith who we want to hear their voice, we want to hear their take, and I think that's a really cool part of it. Um, what's my favorite bit of the magazine? I mean, to be honest, I love in terms of design, Jezebel's spread is fucking fantastic. It looks great. Um, I'm trying to think of something different we've not mentioned before, but yeah, that is one of my favorite spreads. Yeah, and Flamey Grant, obviously, because I'm obsessed. But yeah.
Nice. Malky, what about you? What's your favorites?
I enjoy having the space to we've printed a kind of a kind of it's sort of an infographic um that's commenting on the amount of deaths in Gaza. Um, and it was a response to lists of the names that were published of those that have died in Gaza, those that have been butchered by the state of Israel. And the sheer scale is we've tried to capture that. We've tried to depict that in tiny writing that you can see. So I mean that's yeah, it's heavy as I talk about it. But I think those challenges and trying to both bring something in creatively, but also have I think that's the contrast as the whimsy, but there's also we're trying to do something serious. We are trying to create a space and have that voice where other publications or media outlets would not go. So yeah, I'm glad to be part of that, and I'm glad we can do that, and just give a sort of visual flow, a visual pacing to stuff being more heavy and wordy, and stuff that's more kind of thoughtful and will sit with you hopefully as you read.
Yeah. I really like the Thomas Sankara piece. I mean, I wrote it, and I'm not an expert on it, but it's just really cool to be able to introduce people to a a liberation hero who is African and therefore gets ignored a lot when people talk about these things, is a communist, which again makes him just excluded from so many conversations among centrists, among Christians, and just showing the great things that he achieved. And again, no hero I think is perfect or stands up to any kind of perfection scrutiny. But gosh, what a guy! What a guy! Yeah, just very excited for people to find out more about people like him and Dorothy Day. And yeah, this is very cool. And we've got a bunch of stuff from Christians for Palestine. We did a little profile of them so that you can find out more about them. They were very kind and, did an interview with us. And they also let us use some of their prayers, which we've got laid out, I think, quite beautifully, like an old school prayer book. And I don't know, it's just a cool magazine. I'm very pleased with it. If you want to get it, you can get it at shibbolethmag.com. I don't know if you'll get it before Christmas, but because I don't know if I'm going to edit this episode before Christmas, but I probably will. And we should also talk about Christmas, because it is Christmas. This is probably going to be our last episode for the year. Yeah, what's the true meaning of Christmas? There's a lot of discussion in Christian circles about Christmas. It's not the true meaning of Christmas. You got Christmas wrong. A lot of people saying you got Christmas wrong. In churches, it seems to be like the favorite sport. It's like the same douchebags who come out and go, "I hate Halloween. It's evil," are also the guys who want to suck the joy out of even an obviously, at least nominally Christian holiday. Yeah, what's Christmas mean to you, Laura?
Good question that I have had 50 minutes to come up with an answer for, and still sort of thinking about it. I feel like this is something we come back to quite a lot. I feel like we've tackled this question on the podcast before, and maybe it's something that the meaning of Christian, maybe the meaning of Christmas is the friends we made along the way. Yeah, I feel like, do you know what? I have in my church. I currently go to a church that has pays way more attention to the the lectionary. And I'll be honest, I didn't even know what a lectionary was until this year.
Is
Than
a lectionary
any
the
other,
liturgical calendar set by the church?
yeah, which I was like, I had to ask what that was, and I felt really stupid. Got
I
my
thought it was
answer, but anyway.
the wooden thing that you rest your notes on when you're talking.
I thought it was
No.
the bad guy from Silence of the Lambs.
We done?
Carry
Yeah.
on, Laura.
Yeah, okay, good. Um, but it's cool to experience Advent kind of properly for the first time. Not that I haven't, I feel like that's kind of doing bad service to my other Advents. But yeah, it's been cool to kind of take a bit more stock in a season of waiting. So I don't know, that's not really what Christmas is about. It's more about Advent, so I've kind of dodged your question.
Yeah, but
That's
you took at least 3 minutes to do it, so I think that's
Yeah,
not
I know.
nothing.
So I'm at least using up time. Malky, how about you?
Um, it's nicely phrased, Jonty. What does Christmas mean to you? Because that's a whole different framing. I was thinking about this the other day of like the true meaning. And maybe I've gone swung too far and gone completely postmodern.
Yes,
But
you
surely
have.
but surely these things mean things to different people. And
Oh my God.
I think actually both sides are correct.
Oh, fuck this. I'm out.
um but yeah, I think it does kind of strike a nerve in terms of it makes me annoyed with the fundamentalist approach of like having a monopoly on, oh well, you're all doing a version of Christmas, but what the real Christmas is this.
But no, can we apply a lens in this discourse of cultural appropriation to Christmas? Huh? What if we framed it in a kind of intersectional leftist way so that the fundamentalists and the evangelicals would be like, no, not like that, and then they'd embrace elves and Santa in Bermuda shorts or something. Santa, fuck Santa.
Yeah.
Wait, what? Who's embracing an elf?
Malky got very distracted for a second there.
I hope this doesn't awaken anything in me.
Right, wait a minute. Right, I've done great at not answering the question as well. What does
You guys are
Christmas mean
brilliant.
to me?
Yeah.
John, to bring it home.
So, we are for the first time in a long time not going anywhere at Christmas. Me and my wife and children and dog will be at home over the festive period. John's just shaking his head disapprovingly at the dog.
Just at the idea that Malky might have a dog is just John T. hates
What he
it.
needs is another distraction. You know what I mean? Like,
Also, it turns out I'm not a responsible dog owner.
what? No.
Because she's been allowed out on walks for a full 3 days now after getting her vaccinations.
And you just didn't go with her.
Yeah.
See you
Well,
later.
almost. I took her on a walk this morning and came back, and then I said to Nick, like, when do you think it would be appropriate for her to, like, have part of the time during a walk within a confined space to be off the lead? And she was like, well, we'd need to. She said something about a training lead.
Yes,
and
train
doing
the
this.
dog.
And I was like, so not today. We'd just been having a great time. She was off the lead. She was chasing me around the park. She met other dogs.
You're the kind of dog owner
Yeah, no,
that
that's
makes
annoying.
me want to call for all dogs to be put down.
She disappeared for a while, took a shit in someone's garden, and I just left it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
none
no,
of
that's
that.
classic dog owner stuff. Yep. Yeah, that tracks. That's not you specifically. That's, as far as I can tell, everyone with the dog.
Yeah.
That's not true. That's how we're going to get letters. We won't get
Train
hate
your
for
dog.
our bad theology. We're going to get hate for our dog hatred.
Train
And
your
I-
dog, but also don't let your dog sleep in your bed, please. I will think worse of you if you do that.
No, she comes in for cuddles. But then
Sure.
bedtime, she goes in the crate. It's
Yeah,
not a
good.
cage. You call it a crate because cage sounds sad.
Because
So the
the
I'm
true
dog
meaning
is
of
I'm
the
still
true
blown
different.
away
meaning of
that you let them
Christmas.
sleep inside. So that's
Sure.
still that's too much for
Well,
me.
the
I
fact that I
saw a
let my
cat
child,
house the other day.
the fact that I let my children sleep inside, you're
Also too
still,
much.
yeah.
Also too
It's
much.
like,
I got
how old are they?
absolutely
All your pets.
blasted by my friends the other day because the neighbor's cat came into our house and everyone was just like, "Yay, there's a cat in the house!" And I was like, "We need to not let the cat get used to coming into the house because this is not the cat's house." And everyone was like, "Boo, Laura hates cats. Like she's the worst. Like
These people
everyone
are people
shame
who
Laura."
whose name
This
is
is
not on the
not
lease, yeah?
it's not my fucking cat. Like, I like the cat. The cat is nice. I also, after I had made them put the cat outside, later in the evening, noticed that the cat was looking at in through our back door very, very sadly. So I did let the cat back in the house because I'm not
In the
heartless,
arms
but
of
also,
the-
so in a very real sense, it's not my cat. And if my please don't listen to this, my landlord. I beg you.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Well, no,
not
but
my
So the
cat.
true meaning of Christmas is
Yeah.
a boxer dog puppy. That's what
no.
I'm gonna say. No,
Well,
okay.
is that like in the
That's
sense that the
just for
true meaning of
Christmas.
Christmas includes the murder of the innocents? Is that
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Marky's bought
Boxing.
an
Wait a minute.
XL
There's a
bully.
joke about Boxing Day.
Boxering
Oh,
Day?
oh, was it? Oh, that was a bad
No,
joke.
it
I didn't get
wasn't.
that at all.
I'm just saying. Anyway, so like
Good.
family and shit,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah, family and shit. That's good.
um,
Great.
and it'll be nice. We did it. I went to church Christmas carol service. What do they call them these days? Carol service thing. I think there was a moment. There was a couple of little moments there of I don't know, connecting with the divine, thinking about the incarnation. I'm going to aim for another one of them tomorrow. There's another church thing that I'll go to. Um, but yeah, I think, um, yeah, the genuine meaning of Christmas for me is about taking time with family and loved ones. Because that is something that doesn't happen much. Like in terms of we all shut down, more
Mm.
or less. There'll be a lot of people pissed off, listeners that aren't getting time off Christmas. But the vast majority of sectors close down and people are off for dedicated time to not work. And yeah, spend some actual leisure time and family time. And amongst that, I guess the a focal point as someone who believes in God and Jesus to varying degrees is to
Lord.
have him abide with us today, as the carol goes.
You can't just chuck in words like abide and think that's going to make up. People are not going to not notice you're a heretic. But I said abide. Abide with us.
Well,
Emmanuel.
I was
Yeah.
also thinking, well, at said carol service, see when the story of the angels appearing to the shepherds. What the
Yeah.
fuck was that?
Well, because the shepherds are the most working class of the working class, and the
Yeah, I'm
angels
thinking
appeared
that.
to them and not the kings.
Yeah, I get that, but the angels part,
What more do you want, man?
like, was it literally angels? Was it some other message from God delivered in a way that's like was interpreted as angels,
I
I'll
don't
be honest,
know.
or is
Max,
it
I don't
just
think we
pure
have
pure
enough time
myth?
to unpack that right
No,
now.
I think we cannot rest until this is going to be a 3 hour podcast, and it's going to. I'm calling Dan McClellan right now, and we're going to.
Get him on the phone.
Yeah, yeah.
I would love
I
that.
Yeah.
don't know. I think that the there might be angels, but
Hmm.
like, why not? Like, there's fucking weird things in the sea. Do you know what I mean? Like, why can't there be angels? But I mean, I also it seems quite plausible that if God decided to announce himself to human beings, they would be, they would see the glory and would need to come up with some imagery for it. You know,
Hmm.
Mm.
either way, yeah.
Anyway, what does Christmas mean? What's the true meaning of Christmas, John T?
But do you want me to tell you the true meaning of Christmas? Dogs
Yeah, bring
sleep
it home.
outside. Okay. I think the true meaning of Christmas may well be the Christian origin of it. I think that's fine. And if people want to think about that, that's cool. But it has long since stopped being that. And it is still a really positive thing. It's a time when people remember that being kind to each other is good, that love is good, that hope is possible. And even if they don't believe in the story, the idea of the great and powerful and good coming down and humbling themselves as good news to people is a beautiful, beautiful ideal. And that's kind of lovely. I also love the fact that people are giving gifts to each other. I think that's nice. I love the fact that they have these special meals and these bizarre traditions and weird shit like bread sauce. What the fuck is bread sauce? But apparently it's Christmas's fault. And, cool. Love that. Love that for everybody. You like turkey, the worst, objectively the worst meat, but it makes you genuinely joyful to eat it once a year. Fantastic. Love it. I think maybe, Christians getting off people's backs about not being Christian enough when they're not Christians is probably the first, the first order of business. And then remembering the message, man. The message is like, God is not the angry, hateful, impersonal, implacable force. The whole message is that God is willing to come and experience all the shit you experience and loves you, which is like fucking wild, man. That's cool.
Cool.
But I honestly don't think about that much at Christmas. It's just a kind of depressing time. So,
Way to close it.
sorry, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful, and like time with your family and stuff, presents, and the
The
pageantry.
most
It's
important
cute.
thing of all is that I get to sing a descant.
That's
So
true. You
that is
bloody
the most
love a
important thing of all.
descant.
I fucking love a descant. I've whipped out my descant so much this Christmas. I've had a great time. Heyo. At myself.
Wow.
I just Melky and I on our
Merry
faces. If this had been a video podcast, you'd just see both of us like scrambling for the joke.
And I got there faster than either of
You
you.
probably saved us from being cancelled. So
Yep,
thank you.
to be fair. Yep.
great.
You are welcome. And that right there is the true doing
True
that for
meaning
your
of
friends
Christmas.
is the true meaning of Christmas.
Thank you so much for listening to Bare Christianity this year. Thank you for all the messages that you've been sending us of encouragement or ideas. Thank you for engaging with us on social media. Thank you for all the listeners who actually bought copies or subscribed to a magazine you'd never seen, which is kind of a big deal for you to do. Thank you for all the support, dear listener, because you make it worth it. And we hope you have a really nice Christmas and New Year. And if you are in a sad time, if you are struggling, if you're experiencing that, the sadness of the world that Christmas is supposed to be a sign that there's hope for, relief from, we hope that you make it through okay. And we'll see you on the other side in 2025. And we love you. Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Bye. Merry Christmas.